Everyone, welcome back to Katie's Favorite Recipes. Today I've got another great easy weeknight meal video for you all that I think you're going to love. These meals are so easy to throw together and they are delicious. So let's go ahead and get started with the chicken stir fry now. For this chicken stir fry recipe, I'm going to start off with my sauce mixture. So I'm going to take 1/3 cup of soy sauce and I'm going to pour that into a bowl. If you wanted to use regular soy sauce or reduced sodium, either one will work. And then I'm also going to pour in 1 cup of water. After that, I will be adding in 2 tablespoons of light brown sugar. And then I'm also going to go ahead and add in 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. If you wanted to use fresh, feel free to do that. Once I get those in, I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick whisk. That way the dry ingredients will not clump up and become lumpy in the sauce. And then I'm going to add in about a teaspoon of minced garlic. Not everyone is a fan of minced garlic, so feel free to adjust that or just leave it out altogether if you need to do that. And then also I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of honey to this. If you wanted to add 3, it would probably still be good. I just did 2. Honey can be kind of tricky to get out of your measuring spoon, so I just take a spatula and I rake it out. But I've also heard that you can take some of that non-stick cooking spray and spray your measuring spoon before you use it and it'll just come right out. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. You can always add more if you want this a little bit thicker than what it comes out to be. But I'm just going to whisk that up really well, and then once I get it all mixed, I'm going to set it to the side. But I'm going to start my rice now. I'm making it in my pressure cooker, and I'm just going to serve this over plain white rice, so I'm just cooking it in that. And then I'm going to start preparing my other ingredients, so I'm going to be using about 4 heads of broccoli. I'm going to be using some snow peas and some water chestnuts. Of course, you can substitute any vegetables that you like for this, but I'm going to take my broccoli and I'm just going to cut the stems off of these, and I'm going to cut them into bite-sized pieces, but I don't want to cut them down so small that when they cook they just turn to mush and fall apart into little pieces. Once I finish cutting those down into the sizes that we like, I'm going to go ahead and start on my chicken, and I'm just using chicken breast tenderloins because I can get a big pack of this for cheaper and then split it up and make several meals out of it. So I'm just going to cut this down into bite-sized pieces. This is about 1.5 to 2 pounds of chicken that I've got here. Once I get that finished, I'm going to go over to my pan and I'm going to add some olive oil in this, and I'm just going to start cooking up my vegetables and getting them a little bit soft. That way they will be ready for when I throw them in the sauce, that they won't take so long to finish, and once the sauce is thickened up, the vegetables will be done as well. But I've taken my water chestnuts and I've drained all of the liquid out of that can, and I'm going to add those in there as well, even though they just really need to heat up because they're not going to turn mushy. At least they didn't for me. And I'm just going to cover this and just let them steam. If you wanted to cook these with water or butter, you could do that. And once they start turning bright green and they start getting softer, I'm just going to remove those out of my pan, and then I'm going to start working on my chicken. So I just left my vegetables with just the slightest bit of crunch to them, but not very much. And then I'm going to start working on my chicken, and I'm going to put those in my pan with some olive oil, add some more if you need more. And then I'm going to start seasoning this chicken up the way we like it. I'm just going to go over mine with some onion powder, and I'm just going to give it a good coating with that. And then after I finish that, I'm going to go over it with some salt. And I didn't measure these, and these seasonings are optional. You can just use whatever you like. And then once I finish that, I'm going to go over it with black pepper. Really with the sauce, I mean, it's going to give the chicken and everything flavor, but I just like to go ahead and go over mine with seasoning just to add some extra flavor to everything. But we're just going to stir those up and get them really well coated in all of the seasonings, and then we're just going to let this cook for a little bit. So I did open mine up and stir it and check on my chicken just to make sure nothing was burning until everything was cooked all the way through. And then once I finished that and got it all the way done, I went ahead and started adding my sauce into this. And I just cooked it for a couple minutes to let the sauce start to thicken. And then I added my vegetables to this, that way that they could just heat back up and then soak up some of that sauce, but they were cooked enough where I didn't have to cook it, and so just be careful that they don't turn to mush if you want them a little crunchier. But we love this recipe so much that I actually made it again the next week, and I doubled the sauce, and it was so good, and I mixed the rice with cauliflower rice. It turned out really well, but enjoy! For this next recipe, I'm going to be making walking taco casserole, and this was delicious. It was really easy as well. So I've took 2 pounds of hamburger meat and I have cooked it, crumbled it, and strained it. Once I do that, I'm going to add the taco seasoning that I like, and I've got 2 packets of the Taco Bell taco seasoning, and I'm just going to follow the directions on that and cook out all the water and everything and just let it thicken back up. And I'm going to take a can of black beans and I'm going to rinse and drain those, and then a can of Rotel. I've also drained that as well, and I'm going to pour that into my meat, and I'm just going to mix that up really well. Something else that would be really good in this probably would be a can of refried beans and just add that in there. But I'm going to go ahead and add those in, and then I'm going to stir that up, and I'm going to take my 9x13 casserole dish and I'm going to start adding my corn chips to the bottom of that. I didn't measure my corn chips. I just poured a bunch into the bottom of the dish until it was completely covered and I couldn't see any of the glass. Doing that and get them arranged, I'm going to start taking my meat and I'm just going to start layering it on top of these corn chips. This is such a simple recipe. It doesn't take long to throw together at all. Once I finish putting those on top of that and spreading it out evenly, as best I can without mixing it, I'm going to add my cheese. Feel free to use any cheese that you like. The taco blend or fiesta cheese that has extra taco seasoning would be good in this, as well as Monterey Jack. I'm just using regular cheddar blend cheese, and then I'm going to add some sharp cheddar cheese as well. But I'm just going to cover the top of this in my favorite cheeses, and then I'm actually going to go ahead and take some cilantro, and I got the fresh bunches, and I'm just going to chop it up and sprinkle it on the top of this. That is optional. Personally, I don't think you can ever have too much cilantro, but I know some people think it tastes like dish soap, so I don't know. But go ahead and pop that in the oven and melt the cheese at about 350 for about 15 minutes or however long it takes, and I topped mine with black olives. But there are so many different toppings that you can do with this. You could do lettuce, sour cream, salsa, just so many different things, avocado slices, but this was so good and so simple. It didn't leave us a whole lot of leftovers because it went fast, but we did have some. If you try it, let me know, and I hope you enjoy. For this last recipe, I'm going to be making chicken bacon pasta. So I'm going to actually cook my chicken in some bacon grease, and I'm also going to cook 6 strips of bacon. I'm not really showing that, but I just baked it in the oven and then just chopped them up into small pieces. You can use bacon bits if you'd rather. But I'm going to go ahead and cook my chicken up and season it the way I like it. So I'm going to add some salt, some pepper, and then I'm also going to do some smoked paprika. And I didn't measure this, I just covered it really well with all of this. I also added a little bit of garlic parmesan seasoning by Cheddar, but this does have salt in it, so I didn't go heavy on it. And then I'm just going to stir this up really well to get all of the chicken good and coated. And then I'm just going to finish cooking this up. Stirred it a few times here and there to make sure nothing burns. And then once it's fully finished, I'm going to take a slotted wooden spoon and I'm going to dip out my chicken, but I'm going to leave all of that flavor in there. And then I'm going to take 4 tablespoons of butter and I'm going to put it into my skillet. This will be starting for my sauce mixture, and then I'm just going to take 4 cups of half and half and I'm going to pour that in the skillet as well. This is going to be super creamy and it's going to be so good. Once I get that poured in there, I'm going to go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. If you feel like it needs more, you can do more than that. I do end up adding another tablespoon here in a little bit, but for right now, I'm just putting in 2 and mixing that up really well. And then once I get all the lumps out of that and get it smooth, I'm going to add some more seasoning and things. So I'm going to go ahead and add about a teaspoon of minced garlic. If you feel like that's too much or too little, feel free to adjust that. And then I'm also going to add some Italian seasoning, and I'm just going to go over this several times with that bottle, and I would say it's about a teaspoon or 2. Once I get that added in there, I'm just going to whisk this up really well, and then I'm also decided I wanted to put in a little bit of smoked paprika, so I just went over this a couple times with that as well, and I'm just going to give it a quick stir. And I'm just going to start stirring this and melting the butter and letting it start to thicken up. And I also decided I wanted to add 1 more tablespoon, like I said earlier, of the cornstarch. I've also took a 16-ounce box of rotini noodles and I have cooked those until they are almost completely done. They just have the slightest bite left in them. And I've of course strained them, and then once I do that, I'm going to add those into my sauce and I'm going to let them finish cooking
as my sauce finishes thickening as well, but I'm also going to go ahead and add my chicken back in, and then I'm going to add in my bacon that I cooked and cut up as well. And as this sauce thickens, the noodles are going to finish cooking at the same time, as well as this chicken and bacon is all going to get in this sauce, and all of these flavors are just going to blend really well together, and it's all going to be really well flavored while the sauce thickens, so that way when it's done thickening up, everything is finished. I also have some Italian style shredded cheese in the refrigerator, so I'm just going to go ahead and add that into this as well. This was probably about 1/4 to 1/2 of a cup. And I'm just going to stir that around and let it melt. And then this is ready to serve. This was so good and creamy. Hope you all have enjoyed these, and as always, thanks for watching.